Greetings from Somerville. I am Michael Somerville, your host, and welcome to the very first episode of my podcast. Thanks for listening, Mom and Dad. You may be the only two there, but that's all right. We have to start somewhere. And I just wanted to start by explaining to you guys what I'm doing and why I'm doing a podcast. I've always been a bit of a late bloomer. I get to things maybe a little later than everyone else in life, and I actually laugh when I think about my career. In 2007, I became Glamour Magazine's dating columnist, Jake, which was at one point the most famous dating column on the planet. But I became Jake in 2007, right around the time that people stopped reading magazines. And then I started to get on the Late Show with David Letterman as a comedian in 2012, right when Dave had stopped giving out development deals to comedians and was about to retire. So it makes sense that now that the podcast market is completely saturated, that I would start one. Everyone and their mother has one, literally, and here I am. No, the truth is I wanted to give you guys some more consistent content. I have some lovely fans, and I try to every day put a joke on Twitter and Facebook. I try to write a joke, but that seemed a little stagnant. I'm going to keep doing that, don't worry, but I wanted something more active. So I started a web series called How to Blank a Man, and some of you know it and have had a really good time, and I love making them, but they take time to make as well, and they're not cheap to make. So we've done 2 12-episode seasons in the last 2 years. And then I have comedy albums. I have 3 comedy albums out there on the internet that you guys also have, some of you have listened to, but they also take time. Every couple of years you can put out a new album. Make sure you have material that it's good enough that you want to put it out there. So I wanted to do something that was a little more consistent, and for a podcast, I thought I could hopefully give you guys a few laughs, put something out every week, and you can hear from me a little more. So here we are. My plan is to chat for a few minutes to open up each episode, just like this. Either answer a question from someone or tell a story that maybe relates to that day's interview, and then get into an interview. Each episode, I plan to talk to someone from my life. And just in an interesting way. I have a lot of people, friends in my personal and professional life, people I've worked with who I think have fascinating stories for various reasons, and they don't always get talked about. So not just maybe someone, what do they do for a living, but I have a friend who travels a bunch. I have a lot of friends who have done a lot of different things, and I thought it would be neat to have them in and chat with them. So today's interview is kind of an exciting one. My friend Hailey Kay was an NFL cheerleader, and so we're going to have her in to talk about what that's like and her experiences and how she got there. But before that, I want to tell my cheerleading story. Not that I was a cheerleader, but the time that I tried as a freshman, tried to ask the captain of the cheerleading team, the senior captain of the cheerleading team in high school, to dance with me. And this is a story I've never told anybody, so I'm a little nervous, but here it goes. I went to an all-boys high school, so we didn't have girls at the school, but we had a girls' school down the road, and once a semester, we would have a dance, and all the girls would get invited to come over to our gym, and there would be a DJ, and that was our chance to actually interact with women. And as I was a late bloomer, as I've said, I grew up with all brothers, so I literally had probably not talked to a girl in my entire life as a freshman in high school. Never, I guess in under 6th grade or something, but we were all the same. There wasn't men and women then. It was just all the same. But obviously you go through some changes, and all of a sudden now women are interesting and someone I would like to talk to. And but I was a chubby little nervous freshman, and we had these dances, and I remember the fall dance of my freshman year. I just stood against the wall, just nervous and afraid, and didn't do or to say anything to anyone. And then my parents picked me up, and I went home and I ate cookies and went to sleep. But the spring semester rolled around, and we had another dance, and I was gonna go. And I was intent on saying, I'm going to talk to a girl. I'm going to make this happen. This is, and as luck would have it, the captain of our football team was a senior and good-looking dude, and a stud athlete, was dating the captain of the cheerleader squad from the sister school. And I don't know where I got the brevity. I don't know where the nerve, freshman chubby Michael had this kind of brevity, but I decided that I wanted to dance with her, the captain of the cheerleader team, who was a senior and gorgeous and dating the captain of the football team. I don't know. I had this thing about me. As nervous and insecure as I also believed that no one else was more entitled to anything than me in life. And if I wanted something, I was my right to go and seek it. And so I decided, I'm watching them dance on the dance floor, and I said, I want to dance with that girl. I think she's beautiful, and that's who I'd like to dance with. And at that moment, the song Lady in Red by Chris Isaac comes on. And it's an old song. Maybe some of you won't know it. But I decided that was a sign from the heavens that I was supposed to go over and ask the Lady in Red to dance. She was wearing this sexy red dress and this blonde hair. And I said, I'm going to ask that woman to dance. And I did. I marched right up, my little chubby freshman body, and I tapped the captain of the football team on the shoulder, and he looked at me like I was lost, and I said I would like to cut in. And he just looked dumbfounded and kind of leaned down and said, what? And at this point, the girl also sort of heard and looked over, and I said, I would like to cut in. May I have this dance? And he just looked confused. I don't think he knew what to make of me. The girl looked flattered in retrospect. I mean, I think I was just probably blind and deaf at this point. I couldn't see or hear a thing. But I was in the moment, and I was going to dance. And she nodded her head yes, and the guy just sort of walked away. And that was it. And she came over, and we slow danced for about 90 seconds. Maybe that was all that was left in the song. But for about 90 seconds, we just rocked back and forth. I didn't say a word. I think I was just focused on not tripping and not stepping on her feet. And we had a lovely 90 seconds dance to the rest of the song. And when it was over, she leaned in and she kissed me on the cheek and said, "Thank you for the dance." And that was it. And she went back to her boyfriend. I felt like an absolute king. The one friend I had couldn't believe it. He was just sitting against the wall, mouth hit the floor. And I felt like a king. I went home that night happy as a clam. I felt like my mission was accomplished. And yeah. So I don't know who that Michael was as a freshman, but I would not have the nerve to approach a woman like that. I mean, on a bet these days. As a grown man, I would never have the nerve to go but back there, I could use a little that freshman nerve. So anyway, that's my cheerleading story. Now let's get to our guest. Oh yes, indeed.
Hi.
Hello, my first guest today. This is very exciting, actually. My first guest is figure out how to even introduce you. Is dancer, NFL cheerleader Hailey Kay Ziegenhagen.
Hailey Kay Ziegenhagen.
No, I can't even go any further. We have to start there. I knew you for a while as Hailey Kay. That was your name to me.
Right.
And then someone asked me, do you know Hailey Ziegenhagen? And I said, no. And they said, well, that's funny because you were just having lunch with her. I said, no, that was Hailey Kay. And it turns out you are one and the same.
I am, yes.
So
yeah.
is there a stage name? Or?
Yeah, I don't have like a set stage name. However, when I was cheering, we had very strict social media regulations, and we couldn't have our last name on our Facebook to protect us from maybe some creepy people that like to hang around.
The old internet folk.
Yes.
Yeah, so okay. So you just used
I used my middle name. My middle name is Kay.
I got you. Oh, so I was correct then.
Yeah,
when I said
so
Hailey Kay Ziegenhagen. Okay.
So that's my middle name. However, that's a common misconception because I just haven't changed it since then. I've been kind of too lazy. Like, I just don't even think about it.
Well, it does kind of sound like one of those, like, stage names.
Yeah,
where you're like, are you going to be the famous I can't even say it. Hailey Ziegenhagen, or are you going to be
But I
Hailey
love
Kay?
my last name. I really embrace my last name, so I should change it. I just haven't yet. But however, I'm currently in the show, Vegas the Show. I'm the lead dancer. And at the end, during the bows, I get announced by one of the male principals, and he says, "The spectacular Hailey Kay." And this went on for a few weeks. I just, like, let it happen.
Okay.
You know, I'm like, that's my name. It doesn't cause me any stress, but my family was coming to see the show, and I thought, you know, I want my family to hear me announced
my
as
actual
Hailey
name.
Ziegenhagen.
Their name.
Yeah, so I go up to him one day at rehearsal, and I'm like, "Hey, Robert, you know, I would really love it if you announced my last name. And he was like, wait, what's your last name? I said, Ziegenhagen. He goes, I thought it was Kay. He just, like, legitimately thought that was my last name.
That is okay.
And he was so embarrassed, but he shouldn't be, because that's what's on my Facebook. That's what everybody sees it as. And, you know.
That is weird that you let him go a few weeks, though. Like, because now everyone's like, is she
it didn't bother
mad at me, or is she...
So he changed it. It's all good now,
okay.
But...
So Hailey Kay and or Ziegenhagen, which and funny enough, as I was saying, how do I introduce her? I said dancer / NFL cheerleader. I was gonna say singer, dancer, NFL cheerleader, and that is also untrue.
That is very incorrect.
As I know, the singer part should not be associated with you, and it's actually one of my favorite stories, if you don't mind sharing what happened.
You know, it's fine.
Because in this day and age, a lot of people hear, like, oh, singer, dancer, triple threat, which is what, they can act as well, or...
Yeah, singing, dancing, acting.
Yeah, okay.
I guess is the triple.
Yeah, tell the people.
I walk into one of my first big gigs, and I booked this show, and they didn't really tell me a lot about it. They're like, hey, you're gonna dance in this show. How do you feel about singing? And I was like, you know what? Like, I could sing ensemble. That's fine. I'll be in the background. I did choir in middle school. Like, that should be sufficient, right? So I go along with it, and I show up on my very first day of rehearsal, which I was late for, by the way. I was 3 weeks late. For this
3 weeks late for rehearsal.
I was 3 weeks late for rehearsal.
Like 20 minutes late or something.
We were learning 2 shows and like 3 little numbers, and I missed most of them. So I was already so late. And so the cast had already been tight. I got there, everybody knew each other, and I was the odd man out. So already I'm super nervous. Right. I land off the airplane, and my manager is like, okay, we're going to take you to get a costume fitting, and then you're going to meet the cast. It's going to be super casual. I'm wearing jeans. I'm like, yeah, sure, sounds good. And I show up, and they're like, okay, change of plans. We're going to go talk to the musical director. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what this means, but sure. So I go see the musical director, and she's like, okay, I know you just got off the plane, but how are you feeling? Are you feeling warm? How are you feeling vocally? And I was like, excuse me, what? And she was like, I mean, I know you just got off the plane, but can you sing this song for me in front of all the principal singers?
And you are basically not a singer.
Yeah. I'm definitely not a singer.
It's just not what you do. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm mortified. I'm like, okay, sure. So she hands me the sheet music. I don't know how to read it. She's like, oh, so wait, you're not a singer? No, I'm not a singer. I'm a dancer. They told us you were a singer-dancer. No, I'm just a dancer. I don't know where this came from, but okay, just I'm gonna sing it to you. You sing it back. I'm like, okay, sure. I get up and I shimmy my life away as I'm singing. I'm like, yeah, this will make me feel better, right? But just like give a little jig to it. No, I was turned bright red.
Oh.
My first 5 minutes of meeting my whole cast that I'm going to be stuck with for 6 months.
Just basically being asked to do something you can't do.
Oh my God, it was so awful. I called my mom right away after. I'm like, what did I get myself into?
I imagine
I'm not made for show business.
Well, that was a little singing there. That was kind of melodic. Well, I can tell you, I know because I do some acting, and I was in a thing once, and this casting woman was like, you have great voice. We love your voice. Do you have a voiceover agent? And I said no, and they said we'd love to hook you up and get you a meeting with one. So I went in, and this woman said, how many voices do you do? And I said, one. This is my voice. Here's my voice. We said, well, no, our clients do over 100 voices. They do characters and cartoons and obviously accents, and what do you do? And rather than just concede, be like, oh, I'm sorry, this was a mistake, I shouldn't be here, I tried to do some accents for the woman with zero experience, zero practice. She said, well, like, for example, you do Southern accents. I'm like, sure. And then it would just be like, I'll go to the woman just looking at me. You could just see her face like biting her own lip. Yeah, exactly. Y'all go to the, And then I did a British, which sounded exactly the same. I was like, y'all go to the thingy. I mean, just so anyway, I can relate to that horrible on the spot moment. Anyway, you're here. You are wonderful. Thank you for coming. Now, I wanted to talk to you. I mean, we're friends, but you're also one of the most interesting people I know because you are, among other things, you've been an NFL cheerleader, which is a rare community, I would think. Small group of people. Britt, start us from the beginning of you. Growing up, how did you become a dancer? I grew up with older brothers. I was an athlete growing up. I had older brothers. So from the time I can remember, there was a football whizzing at my head or a wiffle ball coming at me. So I had to be an athlete just to defend myself. I had to learn sports, and I played them, my whole life. How do you become a dancer? When do you know?
Well, yeah, my mom put me into classes pretty early on, and the main reason was because I was so clumsy. And my nickname amongst my whole family, my extended family, my aunts, my cousins, they all call me Gracie. That's my nickname.
Because
to the point where I would bring boys home from school and be like, this is my family, and they'd be like calling me Gracie. And I would see this boy stare at me like, I thought your name was Hailey.
Yeah, nobody knows what your name is.
Yeah, I'd be like, my family calls me that because I trip over my own 2 feet. And my mom would be like, okay, we're going to put her in dance classes because this will make her actually more graceful.
So it really was a ploy to try to get you to be able to walk straight.
But it just made it worse, I think, because I drag my feet and I turn out and I walk like a duck and I'm just so much more ungraceful off the stage. But that's how I got started in dance classes. Okay. However, I also played baseball, I played soccer, I did all that sort of thing because my dad's an athlete. He played football in college, and now he's a high school football coach.
Which I think is so cool.
Yeah, and so I grew up watching all kinds of sports, and my dad always kind of pushed for me to do something along those lines. Anything that could get me a scholarship. I was in high school taking 6 dance classes a night after school and staying up all night to do my homework, and he'd still be like, it's not too late to enroll in golf or volleyball or something.
Now, were you athletic? With coming from
I would say no. I always excelled in things that involved only my body. I know that's sounds strange, but running, swimming, rowing, things like that I did well in. But anything that involved hand-eye coordination, a ball, it's not gonna happen.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just not very aggressive of a person. I think you know me. Non-confrontational. Yes. I'm not going to cause any issues I don't need to. So, when girls would come at me kicking my shins in soccer, I'd be like, I'm out, and then, over to the sidelines.
Golf does look good after that.
But I still have an appreciation for athletics and watching sports, and I ended up going to the same university that my parents did, Cal State Long Beach, where I grew up watching basketball games, and I always eyed the cheerleaders on the side, the dancers, and they'd dance on the court, at halftime, and I'd be like, that's so cool, I wanted to do that, and holding pom-poms.
So you're talking now, you're in college, and you still hadn't dipped into cheerleading?
No, I hadn't. I always danced, and in high school, actually, I remember going to, a few of my friends decided they wanted to do cheer, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's cute, they wore the cute little outfits, I can go for that. So I went to the audition, and I left halfway through, because they were correcting me holding my arms in a V. And I stood there for a good 10 minutes as they were correcting my arms in this V position, and I was like, this is stupid.
This is no good. So that's
I left. I was used to being on stage in a theater, and I was like, this is lame.
Yeah.
So in college, eventually, I made friends that were on the dance team. I didn't even try out my freshman year. I ended up doing it my junior year. And I had friends that were like, you have to do it. You're going to love it. It's going to be great. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. Dance team, they did all the basketball games.
Gotcha,
and, still have pom-poms and stuff, but you're doing more NBA, NFL style cheerleading.
I remember we had at Notre Dame, we had cheerleaders, and then we also had a dance squad.
Team, okay. So I was like, okay, I'll do it, and I'll never forget my first game my mom came to. She was just shaking her head. She said, I never thought I'd see you with pom-poms in your hand. I was like, I don't know, here I am. But I liked it. I liked being in an arena where there was, hundreds of people around me, and there's just so much energy that comes with that I was kind of like, this is pretty awesome. And just being in that field, you find people that have done NBA teams, done NFL teams, and you learn a little more about it, and I slowly became more interested.
You're talking now, again, because I went to an all-boys high school, and we had, our cheerleaders were from the all-girls school. They'd come over, and it was literally like, give me a T, what's that spell?
Right.
And I think one girl could do the running man, so they made her the captain. And that's the level. she could do the cabbage patch. She's in charge. So we're talking, though, some real, bring it on.
Oh, yeah.
Tossing.
I, my first nationals competition we have a rival, Fullerton.
Okay.
I'm
it's like
Cal
Bring
State
It
Long
On,
Beach.
right? This is Southern California.
Yeah, and they're Cal State Fullerton.
I love it.
And I'll never forget at Nationals in Florida, a girl runs into me, like bumps into my shoulder, and she goes, ah, and looks at me and gives me this furious look, like, don't get up in my space. And I was like, girl, I'm not about this. Like, I just want to get on the stage and do my thing. You know, I was like, not looking to cause problems.
Real deal,
but
though,
I was like, okay, this is Bring It On. This is
the real thing.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
So I went to my first Chargers audition right out of college, basically. Okay. And I don't know if you know about the process.
No, I was going to say, I think most people would be interested to know. Take us, I mean, how do you become an NFL cheerleader?
Yeah, I mean, you get there early in the morning, you have the full eyelashes, makeup. Now, I live 2 hours north of San Diego, so I left extra early in the morning to get in line.
It's an open audition?
Shades on my eyes. Open audition.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of girls.
I want to say there was like between 600 and 700 girls at my first audition. Yeah. And you're just lined up outside and you get your numbers and you get in and everybody piles in and is automatically sizing each other up. Like, look what that girl's wearing. Look at that hair. And then, so you do your first round. And you learn a combination, and some of the girls that are already on the team teach it to you, and you learn this little dance, and you perform it in front of the judges. Okay. I think like 8 at a time, something like that. So you basically wait in this huge long line forever.
I bet, yeah.
And then your body's getting cold, and you're like getting more nervous. Right. And like, you're like, do I even remember what I just learned because that was 30 minutes ago?
At least I don't have to sing.
Yeah, and by the way, you wear like a bra and panties basically for this
half naked
tryout. So then you're standing there, I'm so vulnerable. And you get in front of the judges and you slap on that smile like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. This is great. I love this life. And you try and just sell it to them, basically. And if you make it past that round, then you go to another round and you learn more choreography. And at that point, the returners from the team come back. So they get like an immunity from the first round, basically. Okay. At least on
How
many
Chargers. Spots are there on
There's 28.
28 total cheerleaders.
I don't know that that's for every team necessarily, but for ours, that's how it was because they like to have 7 girls on each corner of the field.
Oh, is that right?
Because the field is so large.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
there's 28. There's only X number of spots open because
depending on which girls are returning.
Yeah, so you have some. All right, so you're 700 girls applying for maybe 15, 20 spots.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so take us from that first audition. You went, you danced. What next?
So you make it past a cut, then you learn more choreography, and then
Was
you make
the
it
cut
past
that
another
very
cut.
same day, or is it?
Oh yeah. So you're there. They call out numbers. We'd like you to stay. Girls leave.
Stay in your
you
brown
learn
pants.
more. Yeah.
Okay.
It ends up being like a 12-hour day at this preliminary audition. So you make it past 3 rounds. If you make it past the end of that day, then you have finals week.
Okay.
And finals week involves a one-on-one interview with somebody in the company, like whether it be the coach or somebody that's involved in PR or a radio host or somebody like that.
An actual interview, vetting you out.
And they kind of give you feedback, which is nice. They say, like, we liked what you wore, but you could wear a color that complements your skin tone better in this way. Or you could use... I would like to see your hair curled, or I would like to see this.
So at that point, you feel like you're getting close.
Oh, you're invested
about colors
at that point.
And yeah.
So the first time I tried out, I didn't really plan on it. Honestly, like my friends were going, and they were like, "You should come," and I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll go." My dad's been a Chargers fan my whole life, and I was like, "Yeah, this sounds great." And I kind of just like went along for the ride, and then I made it to finals, not really thinking.
And did any of your friends get that far?
Some of my friends got cut early on, so then I felt awful. But then at that point, once you're in finals, you're invested.
You're sure, yeah. I would think.
Oh my gosh. And so then you go through a one-on-one interview, then you have a panel interview.
Okay.
Which is you're in the room with probably 6 other girls, and then the panel can ask anybody any sort of questions, and it's based on the team, it's based on experiences you've had. They have your whole layout in front of them, so they can ask you anything.
What kind of questions did you get?
So my first question was... how do you feel about the Chargers organization and their sponsors and whatever else. So then you have to know, like, okay, who sponsors them, who does what.
Wow, so you had to do some homework.
And my dad is the best, and he was totally schooling me, you know,
Was he?
Giving me tutoring.
I've met your dad. I can just picture him. Yeah.
He's like, you're gonna get this job, damn it. And so you get past that, and then you have a final audition where you repeat the same combination you learned a week ago. Okay. With pom-poms in groups, and then you go back around in the circle, and then you perform a solo to another song that you make up by yourself.
Oh wow, that's the real deal.
Yeah.
And this, so now, where are we in the school year? Where are we in what month is this?
This is usually in the spring. I think about April.
Okay, so the football season starts in September. So you're talking. Okay.
Yeah. So this is earlier on. And so then I got through to the end, and they announced all these numbers, and my number wasn't called. Oh. And so I made it through this whole process and was like, oh my gosh, this was a long week. I just drove back and forth between Long Beach and San Diego, and, you know, stressed myself out, picked out my outfits, studied with my dad. It was a long week, and I didn't think that I was as invested as I was until after that moment, because a few of my friends made the team that year. And so they went inside, took all their pictures, and I had carpooled with them, so I had to wait outside. In the ballroom, in my sparkly bra.
Drinking a 40 in the corner.
Yeah. And so I started crying. I just started crying. Yeah. I'm like...
So you didn't make the team?
I didn't make the team the first time I tried out.
I was going to say, this interview just changed. You do
young.
Make the team eventually, right?
I eventually make the team. Okay. You're like, this has been a lie this whole time I've known you.
Who are you? Is your name even Hailey?
Yeah, so...
So you went through the whole process and did not make the first year.
And one of the main women who runs the Chargers, she came up to me and she saw me afterwards, and she was like, hey, you know, we were a really big fan of you. We thought great things of you. I really fought for you personally, but we didn't think that you were comfortable enough in your body, thought you could have been a little more sexy. Okay. Gracie over here is like, duh.
You kind of walk like a duck.
Yeah. You know, I think she just thought maybe, like, I could use a little more experience in other ways. Okay. So I'm like, okay, no, I get it. I'm just crying because this is a long week. And, you know, and then I'm backtracking, and she's like, no, it's okay. Yeah. Come back and see us. And I was like, okay, sure.
Meaning next year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a month later, I ended up booking my very first job out of college, which was dancing for Hong Kong Disneyland. I was in a show there where I played the Little Mermaid. And it was the most amazing experience I ever had.
Really?
It was so great. Like, they set me up in a studio in Hong Kong.
Oh my gosh.
For 6 months, and
how fun is
I performed in the show every day. The Little Mermaid's my favorite princess.
And mermaids can't walk, so your whole walking issue is...
No, I was in a harness, and I swam through the air.
Really? You swam through the air?
Yeah.
I love it.
It was pretty badass.
It sounds it. Sounds it.
So then
you got to live in another country, and so that's pretty huge.
So I had these experiences, and I don't know if you know this with the NFL teams, but they're basically looking for ambassadors for their cheerleaders. They want their cheerleaders to be well-rounded. They usually pick a team that's so diverse. Like, we have girls on the team that speak Spanish. We have girls on the team that are lawyers. We have girls on the team that are students. Everybody comes from all different places. Right. And that's what they want, is they want somebody that's going to be able to approach the fans and be relatable and be interesting
and have something to say. Yeah.
So I go off for a year in Hong Kong, and I do this whole spiel, and I come back and I do the whole audition process again, and I make it through to finals, and I have my first one-on-one interview.
Now, do you have to go to an open audition still, or
I did.
Really?
Yeah. So
Good
I go through the whole process.
No VIP line.
No.
Jeez,
it wasn't ladies' night at Chargers.
Okay. All right.
And the same woman who approached me outside that after that first audition was my one-on-one interview. And she was like, where have you been? What have you been doing? We expected you last year. You weren't here. And I was like, well, funny thing, I was living in Hong Kong. And she's like, that's crazy.
This is
and I'm
perfect.
like, yeah, you should put me on the team.
Because now I'm interesting.
Yeah. So I go through the whole process, and she's chatting with me about what she thinks I should bring to the table this time around and whatever. And then I go to my panel interview, and I am up all night the night before studying about the Chargers. I'm like, what has gone down? What are all the players' names? What are their positions? My dad has got flashcards for me. And it gets to my turn to be asked a question, and they say, Hailey, what was the most interesting thing you ate while living in Hong Kong? And they must have seen it in my eyes that I was like, are you serious? I was up all night. And this is the question you're going to ask me. So I'm like, I don't know, chicken feet? Like weird fish
Was
balls.
that the answer? Chicken fish?
I said chicken feet.
Okay.
Just nibble on some talons, you know?
Is that what they're
That's
really?
what you do.
That's
yeah,
all
it's
right.
a something.
All right.
Wouldn't recommend it, but
I
yeah.
just learned an entire roster of the team, and you're asking me what I ate.
Yeah! But it ended up being good because I needed to know it for my season coming up anyways. But yeah, I made the team that year.
You made the team.
And I had a whole
And how
season.
do they tell you? Do they call you? Do they tell you right there on the spot?
They announce numbers. So after you do your final, you do your group number, and then you do your solo. And then you sit there for like an hour or two waiting. And then they call everybody back in, and all the girls are sitting there. It's like this seance crazy thing. Like, girls are sitting on the ground holding hands, like squeezing. Like, they call numbers, and you hear girls, woo, on the other side of the room, and then you hear girls crying.
Oh, my goodness.
It's crazy, but...
And boom, you're on the team.
Yeah.
And tell us, what then? Is it a whole summer of training? Is it...
Basically, like, you head straight into... About a week later, you head into a camp weekend.
Okay.
Where you stay in a hotel, and in the ballrooms they use to do, you do like Pilates classes and workout classes, bar, yoga, and then you learn routines. So you start learning routines right away, and then you also...
This is a few months in advance of the season.
Oh yeah, this is in April probably. Okay. It's definitely April because I had to miss a country concert that I go to with my mom every year for this weekend.
I'm sure she understood.
She definitely did, but she was sad. And we even had like some of the coaches from the team come and teach us a little about technical football.
Really?
Yeah, because like I grew up with my dad as a football coach, but not every girl has that.
Right,
she's
right.
just like,
Good to
I'm
know.
just dancing.
What's
you know?
a first down? Yeah.
Yeah. And so we had like I think it was like the defensive line coach at the time came and like taught us a few things, and we learned about our sponsors, and we got to know a little bit about who was sponsoring us personally, which was one of our favorite parts, because you come back to lunch every day and they're like, here's this little Mac bag with lipstick and stuff.
No way.
You're like, oh, now you get a tanning package, and we got an LA Fitness membership, and those are kind of the things that come with upholding your image as a Charger girl.
That's kind of nice, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Now, are there... Okay, so let's... then we train. Now it's time for the season.
Uh-huh.
You have... What are your responsibilities? You have... Are there cheer... Because I think of you guys don't throw each other up and down, right? It's not like that. It's more like go team, right?
We don't even do yells. We just smile
And look pretty. Okay.
And wave your palms. No, but we do routines at the end of each quarter. So we have full routines to music.
Let's start with a football weekend. It's home games only? Is it only home games? Okay, so it's 8 home games that you go to. Mm-hmm. What's the weekend look like?
The day.
Do you start? If
it's a 1:00 game, you're getting to the stadium at 8 a.m.
Okay.
Which from Long Beach means I'm leaving at 5 a.m.
Okay. I bet, especially with traffic going to a game. Yeah. Okay.
So get up nice and early.
Right.
Show up to practice with your makeup and hair done.
Okay.
And we all have matching like practice uniforms.
Okay.
So our coach will tell us ahead of time, this is what I want you to wear. I want you to wear your white tank top with your blue shorts, and you wear your boots out on the field. So you get to your locker room, throw all your stuff away, touch up your makeup, and then you go out for practice.
Okay.
And we have a set of practice palms and a set of game day palms.
And you're talking 8 a.m. right now?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now before the game, okay, so you go out, you warm up. Now, before the game, is there any fan interaction? Is there any...
Yes, definitely. So we start with the practice. We run through all of our routines, and then we have sideline routines, and we have, all kinds of little stuff going on throughout the game. So we run through whatever we need to run through.
Right.
Then we have a little bit of time after that to run back, change into your uniform, put on makeup, and then we go out into the parking lot.
And with the people.
Yes.
Oh, my.
And we interact with the fans, and we can sell our calendars. And
are you in a calendar?
We had a calendar.
I love. Wait, what month were you?
August. Yeah, and it was actually the centennial anniversary of a big park in San Diego, so that's where we shot all of our pictures.
I love it.
Yeah, it was a special year.
That's a very special...
And part of our proceeds went to restoring the park. And
see?
Yeah,
so you're a giver, you're giving back. Oh.
So we could go to the parking lot and take pictures.
Yeah, well, how were fans? They must have been thrilled, I would think, to have the cheerleaders.
Yeah, and our rule was always to go out in doubles. You had to have a partner if you were going out.
Very smart, it's like being a cop.
Because you can get stuck out there, and you have to keep an eye on the time, because you'd be running back to get back up for the game, and fans would be like, I want to take a picture, and you're like, it's time to start the game, so I have to be rude,
but I gotta get in there, and that's hard because you're supposed to be nice to everyone.
But it's cool. It's like that's your time to really see how much people appreciate you and you putting your time out there, and also to see who's gonna take advantage of your time.
But I was gonna say, like, as a sports fan, and I mean, you're an icon at the cheerleaders and NFL cheerleaders.
Yeah, I remember meeting Laker girls when I was a little girl, and thinking how it was like the coolest thing ever.
Right. It's like, that's, oh my gosh, And then, boom, you are one. Was your dad fired up?
Oh my gosh. My dad. So he's a high school football coach, and at the start of the season, he has a booster meeting where people can, donate or get involved in how they're going to fundraise for the year. And he said, I have a kid that's in the NFL right now. And the whole room just goes, oh my gosh, that's great. Wow. And he goes, I never thought it was going to be my daughter who was in the NFL, but she is. She's a cheerleader. However, when my calendar came out, he changed his tune a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he just wasn't expecting to feel that when a big picture of me in a bikini comes out, and then his friends are like, we want to buy a calendar. And my dad's like, you can buy a calendar, but you're ripping August out of there.
There's going to be no August. A slightly different tune. Yeah. Now, did you guys... So did you know the players? Was there any even interaction? It seems like kind of two separate planets almost.
Well, there is, because we do promotions with them and things like, I went to a elementary school with a few of the players, and we told the kids how they needed to drink milk and exercise, and there's this thing in the NFL called Play 60 where they encourage kids to exercise for 60 minutes a week or something like that. So go outside and play and not sit in your room and play video games. Right. Oh, that's good. So you're doing different... So they get the players to go out, and they would have a few of us go and talk to the kids about it. And so you definitely get to interact with them in those moments, but there's no fraternization. Okay.
Oh, is that a rule? You're not supposed to be dating or anything? Okay, yeah, I would wonder. I would think, well, not like a professional athlete probably has trouble meeting women, but I would...
Well, you don't want it to get into any sort of... so-and-so cheated on his wife with cheerleader.
Yeah, also that's true. That's an internal issue. That makes sense.
Yeah, keep it clean.
Yeah, keep it Catholic. That's what we like to say. So you go through, you're done with the day. Do you eat like a rack of ribs?
Oh my
gosh. I want to know how you got... Because I've known you, and you're always in such great shape.
Foodie.
But I know you love to eat, too. I know tacos are your weakness. I know. And somehow you and I look very different. I love to eat, too, and I don't look like you.
But... I think the other day you were like, I don't look like that eating.
Yeah, you had a cheeseburger for lunch. You're like, a cheeseburger and a milkshake. I'm like,
right before a showgirl show.
Yeah. Well, it's like, what do you do? Throw it out the window? Because you're not eating it. So tell me about, are there weigh-ins, are there expectations, and then how do you manage that? Because you always look great, but I can't imagine how you do it, because you must...
Weigh-ins are a thing, also gym hours are a thing, depending on the show you're doing, who you're involved with, if you're, cheering... you know, like, they just want to make sure that it's in a healthy balance.
Okay.
It's kind of a taboo thing, you know, to talk about, but, you know, you just want to, they want to make sure that the person they hired is the person that they're going to have at the end of the situation. Because, you know, you never know what's going on at home with somebody.
Right.
And then if it does become an issue, it's never like, you need to go lose 10 pounds right now. It's like, okay, how can we help you with this? Are you having problems at home? Is it something stemming from something else?
It's really nice to hear, though.
It is, like, you know,
supportive.
It's still daunting. I'm like, I don't want to step on a scale in front of everybody this week. I know what I ate.
Yes. If they had comedian weigh-ins, I'd be in big trouble.
I had a whole birthday cake last week. Like, I want to see it, but it also keeps yourself in the mindset of, like, okay, I had a binge week last week and it was great, but I'm going to reel it back.
Now we got to buckle down. Well, I guess that's it. When you know it's your livelihood, you keep an eye on it. You have your little bit of fun. But I think that's, you know, if I could learn a little of that discipline, too. You have a taco or 2 tacos instead of 17 tacos, which is what I tend to do.
Oh, my gosh. My whole family will tell you I've always had issues with that. I'm like, whatever's on my plate, I'm eating all of it.
I'm doing it all.
Give me a smaller plate. Go.
Exactly, because we're going to finish it. Now, one of the things that I always giggle about with you, because you're on this pedestal, you're NFL cheerleader, you're this, you know, talented performer, but you, if I may, are a little bit clumsy, and we covered this, from childhood with Gracie, and I didn't know that about you, but I mean, I've seen you more than once catch a heel, or if you don't mind me saying so. That I find that hysterical that you make your living really.
I do too. I also waitressed in college, and like, who would put me in charge of carrying entire plates of food?
I would not.
One time I dropped a whole thing of like 8 waters in front of a table. Another time I dropped a whole plate of pasta and the plate shattered into a million pieces. And I was like, oh, you know, I'll get you another one of those. Just right away, I knew.
Yeah.
I don't know why this job was granted to me in life to be a beautiful dancer on stage and glamorous, but I make it work, I guess. Like, the trick is to figure out how to cover it up when it happens.
What have you had to cover on stage?
Well, last night I was in a show, for instance, and I am sitting on top of his shoulder, the male dancer's shoulder, and then I do a back roll out of it. He, like, holds my arms, and I somersault basically off of his shoulder onto the ground. And as I'm coming down, it's called the can opener.
Sure, I've been there.
My heel gets caught on his jacket, and it breaks the whole latch off of my shoe.
Oh.
So as I'm coming down, my foot is caught on his jacket, so I'm upside down, and my body won't let me come through because my heel's caught, so I eventually just yank it off, and I end up on the ground, and I'm looking around on my knees like, what just happened? Everybody's dancing around me, still going, like, what's going on? And as I stand up, I realize my heel's caught in my skirt, so I pull my heel off my skirt, but then I realized my whole heel is in my hand because the hook has broken.
Oh, my.
So now I'm dancing on stage with a shoe in my hand.
You're holding your shoe.
Yeah. I'm like, go, Mambo, doing West Side Story. Shaking a heel. Hello. Final pose.
And the other shoe is on?
The other shoe's on.
So you're...
I have one shoe on, hobbling around.
Now, does the audience notice?
Oh, yeah. Like, we do meet and greets after the show, and...
Oh, my...
I had a few passengers come up to me. Was it you whose shoe broke in that number? Yes, ma'am, it was.
You're the one that
wow, you did a good job of covering it up. And I was like, well, clearly not, because you saw it.
You came right to me. And
another time, my hair fell off my head.
You're wearing a wig.
So we have, like, clip-on ponytails. Mm-hmm. And same lift, I come down, and as I'm coming down, I feel my head bump against his stomach, and my whole hair is just sliding down my shoulder, and I'm like, oh no, it's gonna be on the ground, so I can't do that. So naturally, I put it in my hand. Same spot. Go, Mom, Bo, go, Mom, Bo, go. And I'm holding a small puppy dog in my left hand.
This Mambo song seems to be the real death of you, huh?
West Side Story gets
taking you down.
It's dramatic.
So speaking of looking lovely and wonderful on stage, I have to ask you this question because I actually did date a dancer once, and her feet were banged up to the is that a dancer thing? Are all your feet
definitely is. I mean,
you guys have, and it's not I'm not teasing at all. I mean, I can imagine
not everybody gets it as bad as others, but I have pretty banged up feet to the point where I go to get a pedicure, and the little Vietnamese ladies are like, oh, look at this girl's feet, like talking behind my back, and and they'll say like, do you want me to scrub off your callus? And I'm like, no, leave it. I need that. It's my livelihood. And they're like, gross. I could just see in their face, like, why would you want to leave that?
I need the hardened feet.
Yeah, like I've had, well, this is like gross, but dead toenails from smacking them on the ground. I'm starting to get bunions. Like, what is that? I'm 26 years old. I remember looking at my dance teachers as a kid being like, ugh, I don't want to have feet like that.
And here we are.
Now I have feet like that.
Well, now, in fairness, feet are not, I mean, of all the parts of the body, they're not that attractive or interesting. Who really loves, I guess a few people out there have weird little fetishes, but in general,
I don't plan on being with those people.
No. You have a very specific fetish, I think they would have to have.
You go on those minute dates and you're like, okay, do you have a foot fetish?
Exactly. Out. So, this has been amazing talking to you, and I really appreciate you taking the time, and it's a fascinating world that I'm thrilled. If I hadn't gone into comedy, I would never meet people like you, because I went on the road less traveled, and as a result, I've gotten to meet people like you, and it's so great. What is next? Where is it all going? What do you see?
I love that my work affords me the opportunity to travel. Yeah. I love meeting new people. I've met you through work, and I think as long as I can keep doing that and sustain a reasonable living life, like I'm not looking for riches, but as long as I can be comfortable and do what I love, I will do it as long as it takes. But I don't think I'm going to be dancing forever. Yeah. Dancers typically dance until 30s, early 30s.
Yeah, so. I would think physically it's like an athlete. You'd start
I'll do something else. So maybe I'll be a dental hygienist. Maybe I'll be a flight attendant. Maybe. I don't know. I think it's one of those things you just have to let come to you when it's the time.
Just when it's time to grow up, right?
Yeah. Speaking of growing up.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for swinging by. And is there a saying? Is there an expression that dancers use? I know break a leg for acting.
You want me to count you out? 5, 6, 7, 8, cut.
Hailey Kay Ziegenhagen, everyone. We'll talk to you next time. Hey, thanks so much for listening to Greetings from Somerville. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, and listen to all 3 of my stand-up comedy albums for free on Spotify, Pandora, and SiriusXM. I'm Michael Somerville. Have a great day.